Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whatever time you're watching this, as always, thanks for watching Common Sense Fishing. Shout out to RC Creative, one of the members here, one of the subscribers on the channel. He had this shirt made for me and just sent it out. So I got it about a week ago, and I've already did a little fishing in it. So I figured I'd wear it for tonight's show the appreciation. So thank you very much. Sorry that I'm late. No Limit had it pretty correct. I mean, I had to grab some brews. I got these like wussy girl drinks because my wife has them. So I'm like, we'll just roll with it. And I was finishing dinner. So the wife gets home at 6. I got home at like 6. She got home at like 6:20. So I was like, I cooked some steak and some mac and cheese and some veggies and tried to scarf it all down and get in here by 7. Because if I don't eat before I come, I don't like eating in front of you guys. So I don't usually eat. So anyways, weird start off to the night. But tonight's video, I've got a great one for you guys. We're going to talk about some of the tough times that I've been going through recently. And also some of the good stuff that I've seen and some reports from some friends of mine. And we'll discuss like how the fish's behavior are. They're still kind of in that pre-spawn, right at the spawn moment, moving up shallow. They're very shallow. A lot of them are literally 2 to 3 feet from the water's edge, if at that. Yeah, right. Don't eat spaghetti in it. I think we're good. I ate in my work shirt, my Air Doctor blue and yellow shirt, and then I just put this on right before we hit live. You guys would have seen some men who made sure to not go live until I had the shirts all swapped out. Got relaxed in my chair, so. All right. So how's everybody doing tonight? You guys have a great weekend. Looking forward to a good week. So happy Monday to everybody. Got a lot of things going on this week. Excuse me. I'll have 2 fishing videos coming out this week. And one of them shows how to fizz a fish. And we fizz a couple of fish. And I'll also be talking about during that video how it's during a few weeks or even a month before they full on spawn, there'll be this kind of hard stretch that can be hard to figure them out. But if you find the right spots in the lake, you'll find them stacked where they're spread out everywhere. There'll be a fish here and there right up in the shallows. There'll be a fish here and there in 15. There'll be a fish here and there in 25, a fish here and there in like 30 or 48 pops. Yeah, I'll get you a shirt as soon as possible, buddy. I have the black and white regular Common Sense ones, but this one is a special design from RC Creative. He kind of tweaked the logo a little bit and then sent me this for free. So shout out to him. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of you guys too for just coming and spending the time and hanging out with me and listening and chatting and just being a good group of fellas and ladies to go fishing with. I've met most of you guys or some of you guys and look forward to meeting more. And for the ones that I can't meet, if you're watching this later at a different time, just know that, hey, I try to keep it as cool as possible. And I'm an open, friendly guy, so I don't mind fishing with folks. Reach out to me if you want some advice or just want to chat. I'm on Facebook. I'm on a bunch of other things, Instagram, Fish Brain, all that good stuff. So if you're ever needing someone to talk to, I don't mind being there for people too. For people, having tough times and all that. So I like being a friendly, helpful person. Life's just too full of negativity. So, hey, Taco Sifu, how's it going? So, 2 trips recently that come to mind is going to be New Maloney's. Was there just a couple days ago, and Lake Mcclure was there just a couple days ago. Common Sense Junior he kicked him, right? He did good. And old Common Sense Junior, one of my other sons, he beat me in numbers in this latest video. I've got him in keepers, but he beat me in numbers because what happened was we were fishing in wood and I just kept getting snagged using the Ned rig and other stuff, and I was using open hook ones. So I've seen the offset weedless Ned rigs, that are basically like Texas rig, Ned rig. And I haven't got any of them. I need to pick some up. And so I figured there was so much wood everywhere where we were fishing. I was just getting frustrated, getting snagged every other cast, losing a lot of gear. So I put my son, I gave him because he was getting snagged every other cast, losing gear too. So I was getting frustrated. So what I did was I gave him a Texas rig and I said, "Here, use this." He stopped getting snagged for the rest of the day, but then he started catching fish because he was able to work the lure through the wood, which was the plan. But I was kind of trying to use the Ned rig on more spawning flats or like areas where I thought those fish would be setting up and drag it. And I kind of had the right idea, but the wrong execution and wrong locations. And about halfway through the day, or three quarters of the way through the day, we had about 7 or 8 fish or 6 fish. I think picked up on the fact that we were moving way too fast. They were still on that slow drag bite. They didn't want things moving. I cast it up shallow and my lure was just sitting there for a few seconds while I was talking with my son about something. And all of a sudden I just feel my pole get pulled out my hand almost. I'm like, oh man, I set the hook, get a nice little bass in. And I went up shallow for just to kind of check because a lot of the day I couldn't see. There was a little bit of chop on the water and wind. You couldn't see shallow enough. And so it calmed down. We were in a nice little secluded area. And sure enough, in just a short stretch of shore, I've seen like 2, 3 fish up in like 2 feet of water. And they're definitely getting ready to, the males are getting ready to start fanning the beds here. And at Mcclure, we caught 2 males that were fanning beds, had red tails, they were all red. They're already fanning the beds. So they're starting, but yeah, it's still painfully slow. So I noticed, I had to leave my bait, I had to leave my lure alone, and I got bit because what's happening, you're casting near their beds and you move it slow enough or you leave it there, they come and they pick it up off the bed. But if you move your lure enough to where it passes by their bed, they don't care about it or the area, the zone that they're going to make their bed in. Hey, what's going on? Mike Dozer. So yeah, nice to see everybody on here. But yeah, it's been a crazy last week with this nasty cold front. It was snowing up at New Maloney's. My buddy caught 50 in a particular location. Basically, he found a drain or a wash where water was coming down. New Maloney's water temp was 53 upriver and 56 on the main lake. It had dropped, or didn't raise like I thought it would. And Mcclure was in the 58 to 60 range, a lot warmer. And so there were much more fish up in Mcclure shallow, but they weren't having nothing to do with our bait either. They were lockjaw basically. Or I think again, the main problem was we were moving too quick, covering water too fast. If we had just picked the places apart and fished extremely slow with our presentation and kept it in 0 to like 25 feet of water, we would have murked it. But we were there with actually 2 boats. So Mark Nav was there in his boat. I was there on my boat. And he had one smash out of wake bait and miss it. And I told him, start throwing your crankbait. And so he smacked a couple on his crankbait, which was pretty cool. And I was getting them on the Ned rig. I tried picking up the crankbait, but no luck. I don't know if I threw it enough. You gotta get up right in 2 to 5 feet of water with that thing and use that square bill real slow. I was probably working it just too fast and was probably a little bit too deep, 10, 12 feet of water with a square bill just sailing through the water, not hitting or bouncing off of anything. Hey, Gerbs. Yeah, Folsom is tough, man. Folsom is fat. Folsom is what do they say? Fast or famine? Feast or famine? Fast. Feast or famine. And a lot of the time at Folsom, for me, I've done good either way upriver and doing things like float and fly, drop shotting and stuff, and finessing, dangling around worms up near the cliffs, and where the rock, gets all steep. And then the other place has been the marina on the back right hand side. So if you're looking at it, it's got 2 arms, and you're looking at it on a map. The eastern arm on before it goes into the arm, there's a big cove with a marina in there. There's usually a lot of bass in there. Other than that, it's tricky to find those little monsters on that lake. You can fish miles of shoreline and not find anything, and then there'll just be tons of fish. I mean, tons of fish just ganged up in one area. It's so crazy. I've seen it for myself where, like, we caught like 50, 60 fish in a day and weighed in like almost a 20-pound bag. It was like 18 and some change. And it was at the Future Pro Tour, and everybody else like struggled to even find a limit. Guys were blanking it, weighing in one fish, two fish, only like 10, 15 boats or something. I don't remember how many it was, had an actual limit. It was the most brutal day ever. Guys didn't believe us. They came running up to us to check our live well. They're like, "No way!" But they know we didn't. There's no cheating. You could see we have a rubber raft, right, and ice chest for a live well. We weren't hiding no fish, and we were catching our fish in front of other boats. They were just scratching their head like, "What the hell?" And we wouldn't leave that spot that we found. We were there almost all day, and we just fished the living snot out of it. So when we left, guys came in behind us, and I'm sure those were the guys that did pretty decent. They fished our leftovers and caught some keepers. And then we went to another spot, and that kind of a side story is about where I learned that fish don't care about music and loud noises. So that's the story where we were sitting in the flooded trees at Folsom, and there was like a bunch of like party boats. There was like a houseboat, jet skis, girls just dancing, loud music, people drinking beers, swimming, jet skiing, just hella noise. And literally like 20 feet away, there's just a school of hundreds of fish that we were just catching them left and right. And we just like, we were like two kids in a candy shop. We were holding fish up and just like, which one do you think's better or bigger? I don't know. This one, throw it away. We didn't even have a scale. We were catching so many fish we couldn't even bother culling them correctly because, like, I think we might have had a scale, but you were just catching fish after fish, and these were all 2, 3, and we had a couple 4-pounders. It was just insane. So it was just hard to put down the pole. It was so funny. But that lake's kicked our ass. I've gone there and weighed in one fish. I've gone there pre-fished the whole day, got skunked. That lake's been real brutal to me too. So Folsom, here's to Folsom kicking people's butts, right? Folsom is not an easy lake. So, anyways, hope everybody is having a great week. I'm looking forward to this week. I got some work in the Bay Area Tuesday and Thursday, fishing Wednesday. So hopefully I'll make it back in time to hit the live stream at 7. I'm pretty sure I will. So I'll just make sure I'm off the water by like 5 or 6, or at home by 6. That way I have time to prep and set up and then get the video all set up. Like, I'm lazy. Some guys, they take and they literally create like a thumbnail. They take photos and they go and edit them, mess with them, put it as their thumbnail, and then upload it, share it to a bunch of places, and then it's programmed or planned to start at a certain time. So I'm kind of catching on. So about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I'm coming in here and I'm setting my live stream up, and then I'm sharing it to Facebook, and then I don't go live until 7. So I apologize for being late tonight, though. Again, dinner. But smash that like and subscribe if you guys get a chance. Tonight, like I said, we're going to talk about the 2 trips out at Maloney's and at Mcclure. We're going to talk about the skittish behavior that the fish have been in. And in hindsight, I had a couple buddies who were there at the same time, what they were doing different than me and where they were fishing. We're going to share that with you guys and gals. And excited to have 2 more videos coming out. One crazy. So we'll start with the Mcclure trip, and we'll leave my crazy story for towards the end, because when I talk about New Maloney's, it's going to come up. But when we were at Mcclure, like I said, it was me and Mark Nav. Sunday we changed time. Oh, I better remember that. Good reminder, Mike. So got to remember to change. My cell phone will do it automatically, but I got to remember to do it on everything else. My little alarm clock set up, and the cars and all that. A lot of the stuff's finally getting where it switches over, but old thermostat and all that good stuff, got to reprogram it. So thank you, Mike. This is RC Creative. So big shout out to RC Creative, to Mike, for Hey, wait a minute. But yeah, when are you going to start fishing the Delta? Oh, I think it's about time. So I've got two tournaments. I've got one. I've got a BBT tournament at Mcclure, followed by perhaps a Bassin 101 tournament at Millerton. And then I've got another BBT tournament at New Maloney's. So once those three are wrapped up in the bag, I think it's going to be time to go play at the Delta. And I'm going to go, hey, JP. So I'm going to be probably heading out to the Delta mid-ish, late March. So I would say probably about 2 weeks from now, I'll be hitting up the Delta. I'm watching all the photos. The Delta's pumping out a ton of dinks and little males. And even the nice fish that people are catching in the 2 to 4 pound range look like old giant buck males. None of them have the bellies. None of the females are getting caught yet. So I don't even know if they're even full on pre spawn yet there. Water temperature is going to be a lot colder. Delta is usually going to be behind the lakes a little bit. So as these fish are barely pulling up, the buck males are barely pulling up at the lakes. I'd give the Delta a couple weeks and then I'll be over there for sure. And like I said, I know Mike wanted me to do some whiteboard videos. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm going to try to break down the Delta, Lake Don Pedro, and probably New Maloney's and Mcclure whiteboard videos. I'm going to leave Tulik alone. I'm going to fish it for fun. So you guys will see me do a video there, but I'm not going to hammer that lake this year. I'm probably going to be bouncing around. So you guys will also see me at Clear Lake soon. I'm looking at setting up a nice Clear Lake trip. Side note to anybody who's interested, this is an open invitation. We try to do this once a year. And if you want to go see, there's a video last year where we took like 4 boats and we had like 16 guys. We bought a bunch of tri-tips, gang of beer, gang of hard alcohol, and a bunch of Casper. We had we rented like an entire resort area and rented like 3 cabins, or 2 cabins. And we had to, like, the third cabin we were going to rent, but a couple of groups didn't show up. So we didn't rent the third cabin. So we ended up renting out this massive area and partying like there was no tomorrow. Caught a bunch of 4 and 5 pounders. Not a bunch, but I'd say like 5 or something, 4 or 5, that were in 4 or 5 pounds. And then a bunch of, 2 and 3s. Had a great time. It was kind of slowish fishing, but we went a little early. It was still cold. We still had to like wear our jackets and stuff. I think we went in like early March or mid-March, all excited, and the bite just wasn't quite there yet. So this year, I think we're going to learn from our mistakes. Clear Lake is a northern lake, higher in the longitude, latitude of Earth, right? So it's latitude, it's higher up, so it's more north. So it's just going to be a colder lake. It's as far as it's going to take a little bit of time before it really warms up because it's colder up there, and it's also a shallow body of water, so it cools off real quickly. So these temp swings affect it a lot more. So I would expect Clear Lake to be turning on really nice early April, very late March. So or mid-April to in that 2 or 3 weeks span right there. So I'm going to go up to Clear Lake with the full intention of kind of chucking jigs and LV 500s almost exclusively, the 2 of them, and seeing if I can catch some mondos. If I start really having fun or the bite's really hot, we'll probably throw some jerk baits, but maybe bust out the A-rig or some swim baits, or some medium diving big crankbaits and see what we can pull out. So smallmouth will spawn a little bit behind the other fish, but they spawn deeper. You're going to find them spawning in usually 20, 25 feet deep. They're not usually right up on the shore. They could be 15 to about 30 feet deep. They'll spawn. Sometimes you can't even see their beds. And they'll be doing it right around the same time the other bass are, or if anything, just right at the tail end. But it all depends. Certain bodies of water are different than others. So, like Pardee, other lakes like Scotts Valley that have is not the right name, Scotts Valley, Trinity, stuff like that, they're going to fish a little differently. So those spots I really couldn't tell you, or sorry, smallies I couldn't tell you about. But if you're going to catch some in Mcclure, Pedro, stuff like that, then it's going to be around the same time. They're just going to be deeper. They're a deeper fish. They're going to hang around 60 to 80 feet all year long almost. So those fish are just whole different ballpark. You're going to fish deep for smallmouth most of the time. Not all the time, but in these mother lode lakes, it's getting harder and harder to find any decent ones. It seems like they're just far and few in between now. I remember catching some nice ones back in the days, but they don't show up anymore. Hey, Ray. Oh, by the way, Ray, we got Keeping It Real, Marco Houston, Mario with Let's Get It Fishing, No Limit, Ray, Charles Chalk, and Racho Bunch. I'm getting the lure packs ready for you guys. And so we're going to be shipping those out soon. It's just been a process. I bought a few here, bought a few there. So we're going to be sending you guys like some Ned rig kits of my favorite color to catch some of them spawning bass, some spinner baits, maybe in a crankbait or something. Get on to those pre-spawn and also post-spawn, or just the feeding spawn fish that are willing to attack stuff. Shallow running baits, stuff that's for pulling out bigger fish. So you can use it at the Delta, the mother lode. This next couple of months are going to be really those baits time to shine. So we're going to get you guys the lure packs. We'll get them all out. I think I got most of everybody's addresses. So we'll make sure if I'm missing anybody, I'll pull a bulletin out, maybe put a post, a community post out, or during the videos, I'll make sure I hammer on getting you guys, your stuff. But yeah, tough weekend at Mcclure for sure. So we'll start, like I said, we'll start with the Mcclure trip. So at Mcclure, there were fish right up in 1 foot of water. Yeah, most of the fish were shallow. There were signatures in 25, 30, and even down to like 45, 50, 55. And I couldn't really get anything to bite because I think I was fishing too fast. I was too excited because the weather was warm and we were being able to pop and move our bait a lot more last week. And you can cover water quicker and just catch more fish. They were just hitting pretty good. But then when this cold front came in, they just really sluggishly slowed down again. And because we were been going through that drag bite, that real slow, painfully slow bite has been the ticket for like the last month, almost 3 weeks to a month. And so it's super annoying to just keep dealing with it. So when there was about 4 or 5 days there when you can actually toss a jig and some other stuff and pop it and move it around a little bit and you can get bit, it was feeling good. But that cold front knocked them back. And I didn't learn from my own advice type thing. And I think I went out there and fished a little too fast. And it kind of can suck when you're pre-fishing by yourself. Sometimes you can either struggle, but a lot of times you can think clear and you try some things that you want to try. But when you're pre-fishing with somebody else, well, I went with Mark and he was in his boat, I was in mine, but we were fishing near each other. So I'd get a fish on a Ned rig or something. Then all of a sudden an hour would go by and then he'd get 1 or 2 on a crankbait. The next thing you know, I'm wasting a couple hours throwing the crankbait. Then he gets one on the Ned rig. Then I go back to it and I get a couple. And it's just struggling finding where they're at, what they were wanting. It was a real tough weekend this week at Mcclure, definitely. Between the two of us, we caught about 8 or 9 fish, maybe, and a lot of dinks. We had a limit between the two of us, so if we would have been in the same boat, we had our limit, but we're obviously in 2 boats. I put 4 in the box, he put 1 in the box, but he caught 4 and I caught like 6, so maybe 10, I think. But a lot of dinks too, so well, not a lot, but just dinks as well in there. So we didn't get to cull it all, but we definitely had a 5 fish limit before tournament time, and it was a struggle. So one thing I did notice, though, again, is towards the end of the day, pulling up shallow when I got a chance when the wind kind of died down, there was a lot of fish up shallow. They're extremely spookish. So what they're doing right now is when you pull up shallow, as soon as if they see you, they're swimming off nice and slow. And then if you pull away and move away and wait, in about 30 seconds to a minute, you'll see them come back. But if they see you, they'll take off again. They're in that real spooky kind of circle stage where they know that they're going to bed somewhere, but they haven't did the bed yet, and it's mostly smaller males in the 1 to like maybe 2 pound range. So rat bastards like this, all the way up to like maybe a bass like that. There's not a lot of size up shallow right now. The signatures that I'm seeing that look like they're nice are still in the 25-foot range or so. But again, I just think we're moving too fast. And the other problem is annoying as hell is a lot of the big signatures were lifted up off the ground. So they'd be in 30 feet of water, suspended 20, 25 feet down. And I tried throwing a crank or a spinner bait slow rolling, and I'd watch it go right by the signature, and they wouldn't want nothing to do with it. And then to make matters worse, there's a ton of carp out at Mcclure right now. So the carp are sitting in that same range between 15 to 25, and you'll just see lots of these monster signatures. What gives it away that they're carp is they're all the same size. They're all just these big, massive signatures. When you come across bass, you'll see a big one, bunch of little ones, a medium one. You'll see all these different signatures in there. But when you see like just 100 big old fat signatures, they're carp. And they're at the morning time, they're popping and smashing around like bass, so they can be really confusing until you pull up close to them and you see the little mouth, at the surface doing their little bubble thing. And then what sucks is around 10 o'clock, the carp pull away from the shallows and they sink down. And it's hard to tell them from the bass on your fish finder, especially when there's a couple roaming carp by themselves. 1 or 2 carp here, 1 or 2 there. When you come across a school, it's kind of obvious because, like I said, there's no small or medium signatures. They're just all big. So it's pretty crazy. The fishing was definitely tough. Yep. So I think what you need to do at Mcclure right now is fish shallow and fish extremely slow. That or reaction and get them to strike out of anger or just a quick reaction bite. So crankbait was working up shallow. The red crankbait was outperforming the bluegill crankbait. Usually during spawn, bass hate bluegill because they eat their eggs and mess with their eggs, so they'll go after them. But red is a great pre-spawn right before. So it just seems like out of the 2 cranks, they really wanted the red over the golden greenish one, or the one that I have is like a bluegill perch one. And I fish almost exclusively Biggie Papa or Biggie Smalls or Strike King square bills. I like a Strike King square bill. It's got a lot of wobble. But there are times when a Strike King square bill has outfished a Biggie Papa, but it's rare. I'd say most of the time the Biggie Papa outfishes the Strike King. But so Mcclure, I would be fishing. If you want your limit or you're struggling to catch fish shallow. If you're trying to win a tournament and you want better fish, I would say fish deep to shallow. So fish opposite, where pull up shallow and keep your eyes on beds, look for a monster, but cast into 30 or 40. Now, maybe I seen some signatures in 50 or 60, but I thought to myself, nah, no way. We'll leave those alone. Sure enough, though, fast forward, let's talk about New Maloney's now. New Maloney's, I kind of go in with the same knowledge of what's going on in Mcclure, but my buddy had a 50 fish day like the day before, so I'm excited, but it was right at the beginning of the cold front. Now we're 2 days into the cold front, and so they really slowed down. He didn't catch as many, but he still did decent. So I go in with some information, and I start fishing, and we catch a few, but we kept like battling the snags and getting stuck all the time. It was frustrating. And when we kind of figured out how to adapt around that, obviously something weedless that wouldn't get stuck or change spots, we'd catch a fish here and there, just rare, not a lot of numbers. And so check this out. The biggest fish of the whole day, like a 3-pound plus spotted bass, came out of like 60 to 70 feet of water. Like blew my mind. Because I'm like, we're 3/4 of the way through the day. We got a limit, but it's small. We're catching some dinks. My son's got like 4 fish, I've got like 4 fish or something. It's not anything too crazy. And sure enough, I decide, let me cast one out into as deep as I can. And we're sitting in like 35, and I bomb. I've got 8 pound test with a quarter-ounce Ned rig. This thing went like 50, 60 yards easy, way out there. So, I mean, I'm just assuming easy 60 or 70. And it hit, I let all the line out, it hit the bottom, and working it in maybe 10 feet back, so I know I was still super deep. I had to be in the 50 to 70 range mark. I feel this little weight pick up, thump, like, no way. Yep, set the hook, boom, nice fish. I'm like, holy shit. So there's still fish in 60, 70 feet. There's fish in 1 feet. These bastards are scattered everywhere. It's the worst time of the year to try to figure them out because they're just scattering. They're not even in big groups anymore. Or sometimes they are, because my friend did find a couple places that held a lot of numbers. So maybe you need to smash around the lake, check in on some places, and find, see if you can find numbers, because there were also some good size in there. But it was a struggle at Maloney's too. I tell you what, New Maloney's and Mcclure both kicked my butt. We got limits in the boat both days, so you got to be happy with that. We caught fish. We didn't get skunked. We got a limit, but we would not have won any tournaments. We wouldn't have even come close. We didn't have numbers. We didn't have size. So it's kind of like a fishing day where it was like, well, I still recorded it for you guys. Had a lot of fun. Me and my son had a good time. Me and Mark Nav had a good time. But I also decided to make it educational. So I showed you guys how, because since I caught one of my fish out of 60 and I caught another one out of like 35, 40, and there were the two biggest fish of the trip. All the males were up shallow. All the small squeakers were up shallow. There wasn't really anything good up shallow. So, at least for me. So my buddy, though, he got a 3.5 pounder in a foot of water. So, it just depends what part of the lake you're in. Um, so I would definitely say these pre-spawn mamas are probably still off in the woods or big rocks and woods. They're hanging on structure, and they're probably anywhere from 20 feet or so down and deeper. You might the 15 range. It's kind of like right when you look down and you can see down to about 10, 12 feet of water, and then it starts getting foggy and you can't see the bottom anymore. That's where you start fishing right now for the females. The males are in that range all the way up shallow, and there's a lot of them too, but they're just not active. They're real lethargic and skittish. They're not necessarily lethargic. What I mean is they're not moving. If you cast near them, they're not going to check out your bait and hit it much. They're real slow to look at things. They're skittish. If they see you, they'll swim off real quick. Not like real fast. They'll swim off though. Like they're paying attention. So you got to sneak up on them. That, remember where I was telling you guys about keeping the sun, like, so your shadow's not casted in front of you. You need the sun to be in front of you. However, you also need to have a good enough pair of glasses and a hat to cut any kind of glare that's coming off that water. So there's a balance. If you can see far enough, or if the sun's high enough in the sky, you can fish the other way and keep the sun at your back so that it's not in your eyes and you can see into the water a little better, as long as you're not casting a long shadow. But when the sun gets at such an angle where you're casting a really long shadow, then it doesn't do you much good, because by the time you can see the fish, your shadow has already hit that area and may have scared them off. I seen that happen a couple times at New Maloney's, where I looked and I could see my shadow up near the shore, and sure enough, I'd see one or two fish just moving out away real slow. Like, So, but then I started coming out the shore from the other way, and I was able to see two or three of them. It still didn't help me out because I was fishing too fast. And I caught one of the ones that I seen by just like, I cast it up. I had seen the fish, it had seen me, and it kind of swam off. And I watched it kind of do a circle and come back in the area, but I lost. I know it was there somewhere, but I didn't know where. I'm like, I can't see it no more, because I had backed off so where I could barely see it. And I just lost tracking of it, threw it up, and I started chatting with my son, blah, 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 blah. Next thing I know, boom, Oh, wow. So that was the best bite I had all day, but it had to sit there for 3 to 5 seconds. I wasn't moving it at all. And the bites that I got, all of them were slow drags. They don't want you hopping your lure, shaking it, none of that stuff right now yet. So, but things will change. So, say you watch this and you're like, okay, and then you go out and it's 3 or 4 days from now and it's this weekend. They could be completely different. That's the thing about the spring bite with these temp swings. These fish can just be real on again, off again, on again, off again. Now, once they get pushed up and they get that clock really going, and they'll stay. It doesn't matter. It gets real cold or rainy, whatever. They'll move a little bit, but they'll stay right there. They're not going to leave once they start making beds. So you can bet that all those fish that I've seen shallow are still going to probably be there, if not more. Right. So more fish should be moving up every day that goes by. More fish are going to be pulling into the shallows. But the question is, where are the mamas? Where are the big fat bellies? Right? Where are those big bottom girls? Yeah, they're not showing up for me yet. And I believe mostly it's because I'm probably fishing too shallow, fishing too fast. So those have been my kind of lessons to learn from the last 2 fishing trips that I've been on. And I can't believe I fought the wood as long as I did. Rookie mistake without changing over to Texas rigs. It was ornery and stubborn. And I really wanted to catch them on like the Ned rig or the Nico, and I just kept getting snagged. It was frustrating. And my son would want to fish, so I was like, "Here, just put a drop shot on," because he knows how to tie his setup up. So I'm like, "Just tie a drop shot," because I had plenty of drop shot hooks and weights. Next thing you know, we've gone through like half our stuff. I'm like, "Well, this Texas rig fish," and then we start whacking them. And I got one on the Ned rig right away too, so he just got hooked. Like, this is the ticket. And then we went looking, and yeah, it struggled. So not every day, you go out there and kill it. That's just what fishing is. So let's read some comments here now. Fishing Pedro Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nice. I will be this Friday and Saturday at Mcclure. Spinnerbait, glide, and Cincos last Friday in the storm on the Delta. Fished all day. No bites on the chatterbait or squarebill. Yeah, that spinnerbait allows you to get through weeds, get through stuff. We'll go through Pedro here in a minute. Allows you to get through like vegetation and crap, and then you can slow roll it to get it deeper than you can a squarebill too. And there's just something about it. It's like a little A-rig. And those blades, really that flash when it's a cloud cover makes a big difference versus when it's really cloudy. That square bill may not perform as good as a spinnerbait, but when it's a little bit clearer and the fish can see and there's that nice fat wobble, and they don't really need to see the flash of the spinnerbait. That's why I like the square bill. So square bill is more, you can use it a lot of different times of the year, but it's predominantly for me a summer lure. I use it I'll use it almost all the time. So especially at the Delta, I'll chuck a square bill like any day. All right. So weather is looking good for this coming Friday and Saturday. Hopefully some monsters start biting. Yep. I'm going to be heading to Mcclure. So I've got a BBT tournament Friday, Saturday. I'm going to Millerton for a Bassin 101 tournament Sunday, just do one on the fly there. And then next weekend will be BBT at New Maloney's. So I'm hoping by this next 2 weekends we have some decent fish showing up. But if they're showing up for me, they're going to be showing up for everybody else. So tickets, just finding the good fish and staying on them and capitalizing, right? Not making a bunch of mistakes. A couple of things I did is I lost like 10 or 15 fish too the other day. And the majority of it was because I had a Texas rig set up. My hooks are thicker, bigger hooks. And so you have to really set the hook kind of hard. And the line I was using a mono, so it had stretch. And then I tried a bait caster that had enough backbone, but it had mono on it, so it had stretch. Then I tried a spinning that had fluoro, but it just wouldn't have enough. The rod didn't have enough backbone to lay into them. And then I tried a bait caster that had fluoro, and I actually stuck one, but it came off. It was super frustrating because it just like I did not have the right Texas rig stuff set up because I haven't been Texas rigging since Kelsey much. I Texas rig a lot at the Delta. I Texas rig where there's vegetation and weeds, a Clear Lake, these ponds like Kelsey, Salt Springs Valley Reservoir. Usually at Mcclure, Pedro, I'm doing something else other than a Texas rig, but I Texas rig there as well. But we were fishing upriver where there was a lot of wood. And so we went with the Texas rig, and I gave my son the best Texas rigging rod because while he was Texas rigging, I was doing other stuff. And I just struggled once I put the Texas rig on. I couldn't hook them. It was super frustrating. And then I had a monster, and it got me off right at the boat. I don't know how big it was, but it was the biggest fish of the day, and it had shoulders on it, big time. And I get my lure in, and the hook's barely sticking out, like it didn't penetrate, like it was barely out of the worm at all. Like it didn't even just pressure alone was holding it. As soon as the fish, so it was very frustrating for me. So this week I'm also going to make sure that I take time getting my rods and reels re-spooled up, redialed in, and that I have the right reel, the right line, and the right rod to match what I'm throwing. Because traditionally I know what to do like that, but I'm a little lazy. So I'll throw multi stuff. I'll use a rod to throw 4 or 5 different lures on it. And then what'll happen is sometimes a reel will backlash, or something will happen, or this reel I'll trade them, and now I've got the wrong stuff on the wrong stuff, or I've just like I'm just too lazy to get it all set up right, because I'm constantly fishing through different stuff. And that's one of the downfalls is having cheap equipment and just not being prepared fully, because I lost a lot of fish. It pissed me off real bad. These last 2 trips were frustrating because I could feel the fish not grab, so I wasn't feeling the bite. I know what rocks and everything was feeling like, and I'd pull and I'd pull, crawl my lure across stuff. Then I'd feel something like it had hit a rock kind of, but then it would either pull slightly, pull a little bit, or when I'd lift, instead of the pole bending like it was snagged, I'd lift, and then it would kind of come in with me, right? I knew it was a fish, and I'd set the hook, and then it would go, and every time, like either my drag wasn't set right, I was using the wrong stuff. It was so frustrating. I was hella pissed. I've had that happen to me a couple of times, and usually I'll miss like 5 or 6 fish before I get unlazy and mad enough to figure out, okay, what do I need? And then I'll set everything up, and I'll start catching them. And that's what I did at Maloney's, and I started catching fish eventually. But I wasted half the day just dumping fish after fish, missing fish after fish, snagging left and right, using the wrong stuff, fishing in wood. And instead of just going with it and throwing like a weed guard jig or something, or throwing a Texas something weedless. Oh no, I had to go and throw the Ned rig because that's what was smacking them. And shit, I paid the price. So, don't put yourself in a box. That's what I was doing. Now, tips for Don Pedro. I've heard it's real brutal right now. So, one thing you can do is any main lake points that are near spawning areas, and if they've got big rock, right now the float and fly is actually still working to catch fish. We're just using short leaders. So we're using like 5 to 8 foot leaders, and we're only working the close to shoreline, and those super finicky bass are picking up those hair jigs and are eating them a lot better than they are certain bottom bouncing lures. I had my taste of frustration with the float and fly at New Maloney's as well. I ended up getting bit on it a couple times, but the bite was so fast that they would spit it out before I could get a nice hook set on them, because I just had a little too much slack in my line. So it's playing with it and getting it down. But a couple of buddies of mine have been reporting they're still smacking them with the float and fly on some rock walls. And also, it's just the drag. You have to fish super slow. And they're upriver right now. They're also in a lot of the creek arms, and they're in little washes and drains. So when you look up at the mountain and you see like a area that's like coming down like this, and it's not a creek bed or anything, but the water can trickle down they're stacking up in those, especially the ones that create coves. So it comes down the mountain like this, and then it opens up into like a cove kind of. Those are a lot of fish are holding in those right now. And you cast right up to the seam of it, right up in the gut, and then drag your lure down. And there's a lot of wood and lay down and stuff, but the fish are just sitting in there stacked up. That's how my buddy got 50 in one day at New Maloney's. And a couple of my other buddies at Pedro have been doing good, throwing jigs and other stuff, tubes and other things, basically similar fashion. So Mexican, my primary targets for Pedro this time of year, when I know they're spawning, will be down by Blue Oaks and Mexican Gulch, 49er Bay. I'm going to be up near the LDP campground thing, the boating campground, right before the Narrows, in a couple of little areas over there on the left. Then I'd be in either Woods or Big Creek, checking those areas out. 49er Bay is in Big Creek, and Moccasin. I know that's a large portion of the lake. Boneyard might be holding some good fish. Guys will go check Boneyard out because there's some nice spawning flats out on the Boneyard. So Rogers is also a good little area, but where I've done best in Rogers is right before it goes into the creek arm. There's like a submerged island with some trees on it to the right. That's usually a good spot for me. There's a slalom course in the back on the left when you pass like Jenkins Point and you're heading into the big old bay, and then it goes into Rogers. If you go and make an immediate left, we used to call that place Mine Shaft. I actually got a couple double digits out of there. So not me, but my buddy. And yeah, that's a great little spot over there. So really, I couldn't tell you more without going to the lake right now because I haven't been to Pedro in a while. And I just know what some friends have been doing out there. And I also know what my past experiences have been. So yeah, Woods, I would definitely be checking out Woods or Big Creek. And Moccasin, usually because it's just there's fresh incoming water and there's always going to be bass in that arm. So then if I'm not, the good part about North Lake is it gives you both Moccasin and Woods. Woods has a lot of spawning flats, a lot of island tops. It's incoming water from there. Also, the Moccasin water kind of flushes into Woods a bit before it kind of goes around into. So you'll have a little current coming from that direction as well. Plus, you have just a lot of great fishing spots. There's a lot of islands, spawning flats, and Woods. Moccasin has some nice spawning flats right around the corner from the pillars and the bridge right there. If you start just right there on the right, you work your way down. And then once you get into Moccasin, there's like an island on the left. And then where all the houseboats are usually at, that left-hand shoreline, there's a road bed and a couple other good areas right there. And then there's a couple islands over to the right in the middle. They hold some fish. So really, I couldn't tell you more without being there, though. Yeah, exactly. So let's read some comments really quick here. So we got 2 weeks ago, I caught 5 fish in 1 hour on a drop shot, 30 to 45 feet. No bites on anything else at Pedro. Yeah, Pedro can be rough, man. Don't leave fish to find fish. If you got 5 fish in 1 hour, you might have wanted to stay in that one spot and wait for the next bite window. That can happen too. It just, especially if they're stacked up, use your fish finder. If you don't got one, then you just got to use your instinct. But yeah, it can be tough. So yeah, this is a good important point that JP Fraga said here is had 3 bites and lost all 3, 1 on each, drop shot, Texas rig, and Carolina rig. Definitely frustrating, but rather have a day like that on a non-tournament day than when it counts. Exactly. And a point to that is I went to Salt Springs Valley Reservoir with my buddy Jay, and I just caught a crappie. And I've got a tournament coming up in a few days, and I can't catch a single fish. None. And my buddy catches 3. I get a crappie. I lose a bass. That's it. I'm frustrated. Like, what the hell? But you know what? I still kept my chin up. I still kept the positive attitude. And then not only did I go fish that tournament, but I fished it with my son instead of like a good angler, right? I put my 13-year-old son in the back and we went and had a great time. We didn't win, but we had a blast and we didn't do bad either. So we had an almost 13-pound bag and I couldn't ask for more. Me and my son just had an absolute hell of a good time. So and look at if I would have said, "Oh, pre-fishing, we couldn't catch anything," and I didn't go, I would have missed out on all that great time with my son, and honestly, an opportunity to cash a little check or have a little fun like that too. Win a little money. But the main thing was spending time with my boy and having such a positive, productive day out there versus being stuck in that mindset that if I got skunked during pre-fishing, I'm going to get skunked during the tournament. Because I'll tell you what happens for me is every time I have a horrible tournament, guess what? I have the pre-fishing, best pre-fishing. And I go in tournament day thinking I can do whatever I did pre-fishing and I get stuck. I have to fish the same places. I have to fish the same lures. And then I end up blowing it halfway through the day, changing my game plan and catching and struggling. And it's a nightmare. I actually like sometimes not pre-fishing at all. Just screw it. Let's just go do a tournament. And I just go fish like any other day. And it works out, actually. It does pretty good. I just fish the moment. I love that channel. I don't watch it too often, but Randy Blaucat, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blaucat, and he's got a little partner that he does fishing with who's got his own channel called Fish the Moment, and a little smart kid. And that's, I think that's a very wise saying when it comes to fish. Don't fish your past. Don't fish yesterday. That maybe give you a good starting point, but fish the moment. If you pre-fished and you pre-fished during a storm and now tournament time is bluebird skies, you probably need to adapt or change what you were doing a little bit. It doesn't help to have a starting point, but sometimes it can because you poison yourself thinking that that's the only way you can catch them. Now, if you're pre-fishing and the weather is exact based on your pre-fishing and then your tournament, and it's only like 3 or 4 days apart, you didn't lay into them too bad. You caught a fish here and there. You seen a bunch on the graph. You caught one, you left. You caught one, you left. And you figure out the bite, the pattern, the locations, and you don't lean on them. Yeah, then probably during tournament, you're going to be able to do what you did during pre and really capitalize and do great. But the key is when you pre-fish, don't lean on your fish too hard. Don't beat the spots up. And then remember what the weather and conditions were like pre-fishing. And during tournament time, if they're not the exact same and it hasn't stayed the exact same, and if there's been any variations in temp drops, high pressure, low pressure systems coming in, fishing will most likely have changed a little bit. So for me, I just like to go out there and swing and just say, forget it. Let's just have fun. And it works out. And then when I go in there all cracked out, gung ho, like, yeah, we caught them like this, that, and this, I suck. I don't do very good. Yeah, go figure. So that's the nature of the game. And salute and cheers to you on this Monday. I hope everyone is having a blessed week. Smash that like button. If you're new here, subscribe. If you're watching this at a later time, thanks for joining. But, let's read some more comments. I'm fishing club event New Maloney's this Saturday, hoping for 14 pounds. Nice. There's fish up shallow, no limit. So I'll tell you right now that there's a lot of fish up shallow and there's a lot of fish in middle and they're everywhere. I caught my best fish of the day came out of like 60 feet of water. And I think a lot of guys are going to have smaller bags because a lot of the males are up shallow. So keep that in mind if you're fishing and you just keep sticking dinks after dinks. There are big fish up shallow too. One of my buddies got almost a 4-pounder. It was like 3.5 and some change, a little over 3.5. And he got it like in a foot of water. But I would recommend, from what I was told, they're extremely far upriver, way, way, way to where it's literally becomes a river. and it's like almost you don't want to go too much further in your boat. They're really far upriver. There's some nice fish, and then there's fish like Black Creek, Angels Creek, the dam area is still holding some, but they're scattered everywhere. They're starting to spawn. So I'll keep you guys updated, but I think I don't think go to New Maloney's before your next tournament. So good luck out there. Have fun. I hope you stick, man. You got a monster out there at Bullard's Bar. So there's so many people in this soup Bullard's Bar. I'm awesome. Someone to fish, and I only have so much time and stuff to fish. So like, and then if you bounce around a lot, you don't really get your thumb on a lake, and you can't really pattern them very well, and you might just go to 6 lakes and do okay 6 times. Versus if you hit the same lake up 6 times in a row, by the end of that fifth, I don't want to sit here and camp at Mcclure all spawn or Don Pedro. It's a great lake, and there's monsters in there. But if I was going to camp somewhere this year, it'd probably be at New Maloney's. If I was going to stay on a lake in the Motherlode area, it would be either New Maloney's or Tulik. That's where I'd be looking for my double digit and for some monsters. And but Dream Lakes, like where I want to go for Shannon, is going to be Clear Lake, Bullard's Bar, Trinity, and stuff like that. So also, like I said earlier, this is again, we're going to shout this out to everybody. I will be putting together a Clear Lake trip where it will be a big group of guys. We're going to have a ton of beer and nothing too wild and crazy. This isn't bachelor party status. We're not, 23 years old. We're going to probably rent either some cabins or motels or something, or rent out some campsites. And I'd prefer to do some cabins like last time with heaters and, with microwave and TVs and all that. Everybody to pitch in some money, and we'll buy a ton of food, ton of drinks. We'll cover the cabins for probably 2 or 3 nights. We'll stay, and we'll probably stay there like half a week or two, a good little stretch of time. And people are welcome to come up, even if you can only make it for a day or two. If you take it for the whole trip, awesome. So hopefully we'll be having Mark, Nav, Virgil will be up there. Try to get Jay, Jeremy, bunch of the old homies, get Omar up there, see if we can get maybe even Justin Zeller, Darren and stuff. They made it last time. Just, any of the all you guys, Danny, keeping it real. Hopefully we can get a big old little group of fellers together, and the more, believe it or not, the less expensive it is, because I think one cabin I'm renting can hold like 10 or 12 people or more, and people pitching in $100-200 each. That covers cabins, drinks, foods. I mean, everything. It covers the whole 9 yards. And it's not, you're looking at $600-700 probably just for your own self. So, or if not more. Easier on everybody. Plus, it's an awesome time. Like time, and we're all getting bent. Really take multiple boats. So go smash into one other end of the lake, other guys smashing on the other, and then we all meet up afterwards. We have true talk where we're being very honest. Everyone tells her what they got them on. We keep our best 5 in the live wells. We bring them back to the dock, and we just show off our fish, and we bullshit with each other. Then we release 20 people on the lake with what areas of the lake are hot or not, what bites been the best, and it's a really cool, like, hey, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and we go out there and just smash them. So anyone that can make, email, if you know me, you got my cell phone number, call me, text me, whatever. And we're going to start like setting it up, and we're going to get reservations. And what I like to do is get most of the people that we know that are going together as far as just a list, and then we start find what dates work best for me. And I'd rather maybe one or two guys can't go because the dates don't work for them, and have 15 of the guys be able to make it. So instead of just picking a date and saying this is it, make it or not, because then you got to maybe take work off or blah blah. Maybe you had something planned that week. So what we do is we put out the news, and I'll start mentioning it on Facebook. You guys will see some posts. We'll talk about it here more and more. We'll talk about some of our past trips. Hell, we might even watch a split screen share the last Clear Lake trip, and how maybe, and we'll do that for an hour or 30 minutes of the video, and really pump it up, because it's a fun time. I'm telling you what, if we can get enough people to come, I can just imagine that it'll be 10 times funner than it was last time. So if you guys are interested, you guys just let me know. But yeah, that would be the plan. So Clear Lake or bust in the next couple weeks. I don't like those things, but I drink them, right? I got to get up tomorrow at 2:30 in the morning. I got to be in Ripon at 4 to be in the Bay Area by 6. So, you got to love it. That's part of life. And I've gotten enough sleep, so I'll be all right. I'm only doing 2 days in the bed this week. And next week, I probably won't be working at all, if not, but maybe one day in the Bay Area. So a lot of fishing next week. I'll be in Sac, though, the 15th and the 16th to do my contractor state license board stuff. Marco. Hey, Jeff. Cheers, right? Ugh. I don't like these things, but it's beer. So I don't love, but I like beer, I don't love it. I try to not necessarily quit, but tone it down. So my gut health is a lot better, and my health in general, my weight. Oh, excuse me. But the wife had like a 12-pack of these in the fridge. I'm like, it's either that or don't drink any beer. I'm like, well, shoot, live stream. Let's go get them. So cheers and salute to you. 5%. God. Disgusting. 100 calories. Ugh. This is the worst endorsement ever, right? Like, it's not an endorsement. It's a don't buy those. Oh, goodness. Remind me, like, once I realized, I seen all the guys drinking the Budweiser, drinking the Coors, like, like, okay. And when you get older and you realize those are only 4.9 or 5.1s, you're like, what the hell? So I've really gotten into draft beers, or not draft beer, but like craft beers that are like, 6.5 to 8, 9, even 10%. Actually, one of my favorite is the Therapist, the 10% beer. Oh, dude, I'm out like a light bulb, like whoo-wee, talking to you. So this weekend too, I'm going to be camping at Mcclure. So I'll be at Mcclure camping Friday, Saturday. So if anybody's fishing that BBT tournament, Saturday, come say hi if you want. We'll have a campsite up there. Me and a buddy will be having fun. We're gonna get bent. We're gonna bring some beers up there. We'll probably burn half the mountain down. not really, but we'll have a good time. So we'll be up there Friday and Saturday. I'll be in Sacramento. Was it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, something like that, and then back at New Maloney. So after that, things are going to cool down a bit with the tournament, just for like a week, and then I'm sure there's going to be more coming up. I think in April, and then too, all a friend has to do is call me up or message me. Hey Sam, there's a whatever tournament. You want to jump in? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. It all depends on if I can afford it or not, right? These tournaments start getting expensive with all the gas in the boat, gas in the truck. Man, we ain't trying to get political here, but man, gas prices, $5-6 a freaking gallon. Like, why did you shut off the Keystone pipeline? And then the last 4 years, I just want my gas prices back down to $2 a gallon. Please. They were there. They were $2 a gallon. Think about that. So crazy. 2017, 2018, gas was $2 a gallon, man. I swear to God. Go look it up. Now it's almost $5-6. It's like, well, I gotta start kayak fishing, huh? Right, folks? I'm gonna go buy myself a kayak. Next thing you know, you can see Common Sense fat ass sitting out on a kayak. Hey, folks, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I don't have any gas money, so I'm out here at the Merced River for the 37th time in my kayak. How you guys doing? Because I live right away from the Merced River. I go right around the corner. It's right over there. So I could technically get a kayak and just live out the kayak at the river and catch spotted bass and largemouth all day. But I think you guys would get tired of watching me catch. Even if I was catching lots of fish and big fish, kind of get boring. It's just the same spot over and over and over again. That's why I try to bounce around, fish different lakes, get around. I'm really looking forward I've been wanting to fish Eastman, waiting for it to not be a puddle anymore. I think that lake's kind of dead for a while, though. It needs to be left alone. Fish need to recuperate and regrow. That thing is, man, those fish have been beat up bad. It's still got monsters in it, don't get me wrong. But God, that lake, man, that poor lake it's been a puddle this last year. I just don't know if there's been a major fish die off or what. So hopefully when the water levels rise, that lake will be healthy again. But it'll be kind of awkward or odd because the lake's a freaking puddle right now and you can't catch anything. And there's doesn't seem like there's nothing there barely, rarely a couple fish here and there. Yet when the lake fills up, where are all them fish gonna magically? They're all just sitting in 60, 80 feet of water, hiding, waiting, and then when the lake fills up, they're gonna come out like cockroaches. I don't know. I think Lake Eastman's kind of done for a while, or it needs to be it needs to be closed down there. People need to just leave that lake alone for another 5 years like they did before and go back out. That lake will be killer. That's honestly kind of what happens. People develop lakes get a real bad reputation and they get underfished for a while. And then as soon as someone starts catching double digits and monsters out of the lake gets beat up again. So I'm just hoping Lake Mcclure makes a comeback too, because we've caught some monsters out of Lake Mcclure. But it seems like these mother lode lakes are getting beat into submission and there's just not a lot of big fish getting caught out of them anymore. I don't know if it's just me or what, or the way I'm fishing, but I just remember so many monsters coming out of Mcclure and Don Pedro, and now it's a struggle to find fish over 3 pounds. It really is. It's weird, man. Maybe it's just because I'm not fishing on shore no more, and my tactics are changed. I fished a lot of spinner baits and crankbaits from the shore because you can't snag them as easy, right? You throw a bottom bouncer out there and you're fishing from the shore, you're snagged like every other cast. It's frustrating. So, sorry, folks. I got a little message on my phone. I was just like, huh? All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was just looking at a comment. So, anyways, hope everybody is having a great night. I'm just excited for the spawn. If you guys have any questions, now's the time. Go ahead and fire them away. If you guys want tips or tricks on different color schemes, weather patterns, lakes, depths, whatever. There's just so much to fishing. I don't want to just ramble, right? So I try to keep it on to certain topics. And then I tell you guys the information that I have, even if I haven't been out lately. I'll tell you what other people are telling me, what I've learned throughout the years. And also, just keep you guys up to date on the plans on the channel, like where I'm going, what I'm doing, all that good stuff. But I really like producing content too, though, that's just action-packed and big fish. And, so I think the Delta is going to be one of my next heavy stops here in the next 2 or 3 weeks because we're really focused on tournaments, these mother lode lakes, pay bills. So Summertime, I'm going to be doing a ton of HVAC work, but I'll be doing it for myself. So when I'm working 4 or 5 days a week and all my money's going into my pocket and I'm making good money every day, if there's a day I don't have any calls, I'm going fishing. So I'll still be doing plenty of fishing in the summer. I'll be doing a lot of night fishing. So I don't know if you guys remember last year, for those of you who've been watching the channel for a while, right after spawn, when we get into post spawn and the weather gets real warm, I started going off on a night fishing rant. And throughout most of the summer, I'll be talking about night fishing and power fishing and how to catch big fish. And most of it's going to involve nighttime fishing. And then what I'll do is I'll go put my money where my mouth is and I'll go catch some big ones at night. And I called it. I went and caught a double digit at Don Pedro at night, and I caught a nice, a lot of nice 4s and 5s at night. Lake Amador surprisingly kicked out a lot of big fish at night. It was a great little lake at night in the summertime. The jig bite is phenomenal at nighttime. The jig and a crankbait. Oh, man. Those two bites at nighttime. Oh, and the great thing about nighttime is almost all the fish in the lake pull up shallow. So you can fish in 1 to like 30 feet max. I'd say 25, maybe 30 feet. But unless you're in the wintertime, you can fish right up from shore and down. You don't have to deal with 35, 40, 50-foot fish in the nighttime. Even if that's where they're at in the daytime, not at night, they move up. So if you're fishing and all the fish are in 30 to 40 feet of water, if you find that that's happening all day long, I guarantee you $1 million if you stay long enough. As soon as it gets night and it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night, those same fish that were in 30, 40 feet of water are in 10 or 15 now. I Scout's honor, mark my words. So the fishing gets much more dense. The population, there's just so much more fish up shallow. They become easier to catch. So I'm excited. I can't wait for that too. Yep. Berryessa. I've got a couple of plaques of trophies from Berryessa. I don't know if you can see, but right here on my Street Fighter, right there is a Future Pro Tour plaque. Right here is a Future Pro Tour plaque. I've got some hanging up here. And I've got some over in the other area. Where's the Berryessa one? I've got one from Berryessa where we got to check. Man, I got punked at Berryessa too one year. We were fishing in my old 86 Champion, and we had the freaking bow on our trolling motor and everything. And we found at the end of the tournament, we were struggling. We had our 4 fish, and we had a decent limit, but nothing crazy. And we find this school that's packed with millions of bait fish and lots of big bass. But we've only got about 45, maybe an hour at max till the bell tolls. And I just visually spot all this. I'm like, oh, and I look and I see like a 5-6 pound bass. And I'm sitting there trying to catch it. And I couldn't get it to bite. So I backed off a little bit so I could cast at it. And this freaking boat with these 2 Asian dudes in it, fishing the same tournament as me, spots the fish, spots it, and catches that like 6. It was like a 6 pound. Tells me, hey, we're in a tournament. So like, I don't have a fucking pink bow tied on my trolling motor, asshole. You know I'm in the tournament too. They came right up and punked my spot. And I don't know. I didn't say anything because at the end of the day, the bags that won that tournament were so high up there that even if I had caught that 6 pounder, I still wasn't in the money. So I was like, I'm not going to go get someone DQ'd because they stole my fish like that. It was super dick move. They even said, they were like, we're in a tournament. I hope you don't mind. We need this fish to win. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, and one dude's all like intent on the fish, and the other dude was saying this to me, and they hook it and they get it. They all celebrate and they take off. And I'm just like, so flustered and frustrated. The rest of the tournament, I was done. I got one more dink and weighed in 5 little keepers. And that was at Berryessa. It was frustrating. It was down by the glory hole. There was like a cove over there. and it was just loaded with fish. But I've been to Berryessa a few times, but I haven't been there since I've had my YouTube channel. So I've been fishing out of a boat that I've owned now. This boat I've had for like 3 years now, and the 86 Bayliner I owned for like 3 or 4 years. I got that thing in like 2014 to 2017 or so, and I had to sell it. Then I had no boat from like 17 until 19. And then in 2020, I think I got this thing. So, yeah, it was, I used to fish Berryessa a bit in my old champion, and I've done some tournaments out of Berryessa. I've probably fished Berryessa like 5 or 6 times. Not a lot, but I fished it. I like it. It's a great lake. The problem with Berryessa is if I'm going to Berryessa and it's not for a tournament, why stop at Berryessa? Just keep on going to Clear Lake, because Berryessa for me is almost Clear Lake's only like 45 minutes away. So it's like, well, shit, if I'm going to go to Berryessa, I'm going to the Bass Factory. But best Berryessa, man, I caught a nice smallmouth one time there, a real nice one, like 4 or 5 pounds. It was awesome. So Berryessa has been a good lake to me too. It hasn't been too bad. Most times when I win, I've caught decent fish and not struggled too hard. So, hey, Marco. Hey, I'll be up in Sac the 15th and the 16th. I'll bring your lures with me if you want to go up and like have a beer or something again like last time. So I think I might be hanging out with No Limit. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that more. But I think the 15th, I got to check the calendars. But days, if you guys want to meet up, I'll bring your guys' lures up with me. Yeah, we'll go catch up and have some beer, and maybe go fishing or something. I don't know. I don't even think I want to. I think I'll just go up there and have fun, have some beers and stuff, because I got work and all that bull drama in the morning. But I was also thinking about staying an extra day. So we'll see how it goes. It just depends if I stay up real late, on was it Wednesday or Thursday, the 16th. It just depends on how things go. So if I end up staying up late, then I might crash and get a motel room and be there the next day too. So I don't have anything planned in the morning for that. I think it's 15th, 16th, and 17th. So I'll be up in Sacramento area. You're on vacay. Heck yeah. Sweet. We'll have to go to that place again that we went to last time, or we'll go to a better one. We'll go to one that has a pole in the middle of the restaurant that people dance on. No, I'm just kidding. I like to fish for largemouth bass, not things that'll take your half your house and car and stuff like that. Right? No good. Talk about the one that got away. Oh, man, these really suck. Will they center the fold? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. What was it? What was it? Man, I lived in Sacramento for a little bit too. We used to go up there when we were like 19 to 20 and party super hard. This is a place called that we used to go to as young little punks. Billiards, I think it's called. Billiards. It's a place that's just got pool tables and a bar. And man, my homie got beat up by the bouncers there one time, but I wasn't there. I would have got beat up with him. I'm one of them fools that I'm super nice and I don't cause trouble. But one thing I won't do is watch one of my friends get messed up. I don't care who it is. I'm dumb like that. I'll step in the middle of a gang war. You ain't messing with my friends. You know what I'm saying? Not if I'm there to say nothing about it. I'm not stupid either, though. On Greenback. There you go. Yeah, sure. I swear to little side story. So I'm not like this anymore. And I never really was. I always been, I drink alcohol, burn it a little bit, right? But excuse me, back in the days and then when when I was 19 to 20, that was like the early, like 1999 to like 2003, let's say in that time frame, there would be all these raves. Like ecstasy was the thing to do. And all these fools would be selling ecstasy pills. And like everybody would be ecstasied out and going to raves. You'd go to like billiards and like get drunk. There'd be people selling ecstasy pills. There'd be undercover cops trying to bust the guys selling ecstasy pills. All the Asians had the ecstasy pills, right? And all the other fools would go up there to buy them from them. And I was always one of the idiots that was like with people just hanging out, right? Trying to get girls. And I didn't care about all the other drama. I just wanted to drink and smoke. The rave, the strip club, the the billiards bars, the clubs, the raves. It was just so many wild nights, man. I got punked. I got left at a Denny's when my homies, they were all like saying they were gonna. We all were super hungry one night, and we went out to Denny's to eat. And nobody said nothing. Everything was cool. We sat around. We ordered all this food. We ate it all. And then at the very end, we all had the money to pay for it too. At the very end, like six of the homies just get up and decide. They look at each other. They look at me and they're like, let's just dine and dash. And I was like, what? Like, and then they said it. They weren't punking me and leaving me like, let's just leave Sam and dine and dash. No, they said, let's all dine and dash. I'm like, you boy, I just filled my belly up, and I'm always been a big dude like this. I'm like, hell no, I ain't dining and dashing, but I didn't even get the chance to say anything. They just got up, started running for different exits. Next thing I know, the manager's like hella mad. They're chasing them, like half the group, like all these people go running out of Denny's trying to catch my friends. I'm just sitting there eating, and one of the managers comes back in just glaring at me, and I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't know they were going to do that shit. I'm like, I'll pay for my food. I ain't paying for theirs. I was like, I don't know who they were. Dudes I met at the bar. I paid for it. It worked. They didn't, I don't even think I had to wait around for the police. I just paid for my plate and gave them a tip. Said, I'm sorry, my friends are assholes, and bounced out. So I had some great times in Sacramento. I used to go to Luther Burbank High right there in the ghetto. Yeah, it's just had some fun out there, that's for sure. Good memories, right? So what don't kill you makes you stronger. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to some nice fishing times here in the next like month and a half, 2 months. And I know all of you are as well. Last little tip I would say, make sure you guys have all your stuff that you usually fish with, but make sure you're packing a big ass glide bait or swim bait this next month. Because when you do find that double digit, that 8 pounder, that 10 pounder, that 12 pounder, and you can't get them to bite, that HUD or that Depths 250 is going to be what triggers that big mama to bite instead of the little buck male. Because that's another thing in the spawn. Males do not get over 3 or 4 pounds, like super rare. The majority of them are 1 to 2 pounds. So the males will be what are up shallow all the time. The males come up shallow first while the females are backed off. The males fan the beds first while the females are backed off. The males wait for the females, and then when the females move up, they try to court them, do their thing. The matchmaking goes on. The female lays their eggs, and then the male, fertilizes them, whatnot, and then what they do is they guard the eggs, and then they guard the fry. So the female are really up on those beds for a short period of time. Otherwise, they're going to be behind the males or near the males. And so it's real easy to go around and put 10 to 12 pound bags together in the spawn. But breaking that 12-pound mark where you're actually catching female bass is can be tricky unless females are directly on the bed themselves. So that's where that HUD or S waiver really has draw power with those bigger fish. Depths 250, stuff like that. And no, I'm not a big pro on swim baits, but I've watched plenty of videos and know plenty of friends that have. So this year, I plan on really putting my money where my mouth is and fishing some swim baits big time. And seeing if I can't get my first monster on a swim bait for you guys on video this year. Because I already got a double digit on a crankbait last year, double digit on a jig the year before. I've caught monsters on spinner baits and top water, but I'd really like to put a big old giant swim bait bass in the boat on video. And I'd especially like to do it during spawn just to just prove that point that sometimes, that's what has to be done to get those big monsters to trigger and to bite, but also just for my own growth, to get better as a fisherman. Stop putting myself in box because that's my only weakness right now. I would say I know how to fish almost all top water, all reaction. Spy bait is probably one bait I don't have much experience with, as well as big swim baits. I've got experience with A rigs, top water, jerk baits, crank baits, you name it. Every bottom bouncing lure ever made to man. So it's just those bigger baits I need to start learning when and how and where to throw those. It's just I've got so many buddies that are in the big bait swim bait game that have the expensive swim bait rod, the expensive swim bait reel, the expensive swim baits, all that stuff, and they'll fish all day and not catch nothing. Well, I'll be fishing with my little dinky cheap Walmart rod, stroking 2 and 3 pounders, smiling and laughing the whole time, just having a blast. And I really need to get over that, right? And learn to swing big or go home, because it's part of the growth as a fisherman. If I want to start catching more bigger fish and also add a little spice to the channel where it's not just the same old Ned rig, drop shot, Texas rig, crankbait, spinnerbait stuff that you guys see. So I want to make sure I'm out of my comfort zone and doing stuff and learning, because while I'm also trying to teach or give tips and stuff and entertain. A lot of this is entertainment, right? Too. That's the other thing is that some of you guys that watch me are probably better fishermen than me. And I'm cool with that. So my job here is to entertain you guys and to help if I can, right? So along the way, I'm here to learn as well myself. So that's cool. We get to grow together, so to speak. So hopefully this channel and this community here will just get bigger and better and bigger and better. So S waiver, I've got some experience with. I don't throw the bigger stuff. S waiver for me has always been on fluoro, like 20 pound or something around there, 15 or 17 in the least, 20 pound at the max. And it just depends. I've heard some guys say they like using lures that have, for crankbaits, they like using mono because they want some stretch and forgiveness. I've never really been a mono guy with that kind of stuff. I've always liked fluoro over that and just have the right rod, reel, and drag setup. And unfortunately, most of my S waiver fish have all been like a pound to 3 pounds. I've fished those things and I'll get all excited and get cracked and hook a fish, and it's 3 pounds. And I get it in, and I caught 5 of those with a drop shot. What the hell? And then I go all day throwing this damn mess, So I used to get flustered. And I think when I started the YouTube channel, it didn't help because I have this burning desire now when I go fishing that I've got to have a decent limit. I've got to have, 10 fish or more so it doesn't look like a bad day. And I keep wanting to entertain that way. When I forget that sometimes that one fish can be more entertaining and exciting than 30 of those 2 and 3 pounders. So I'm learning to pull my head out of the sand slowly but surely and get into that game. So you guys will get to watch me learn and grow. Oh yeah, throwing that bait tires you out for sure. You get whipped throwing this big old giant bait with these big old giant rods, and especially not even catching a fish. Then you get all like discouraged. So I'm going to fight that, and I'm making it a point from now on to record every fishing trip, and we're going to share them with you, even if I get skunked. Then you just watch a video of me, and I got to figure out how to edit out the boring parts and at least like talk to you guys throughout the video. Hey, I'm out on the lake getting my ass kicked. show you guys what I'm doing wrong. Maybe, I don't know. Then you guys can critique me. Hey, maybe you should try this or that. Oh, awesome. But usually helps too when I get back from a day of fishing. I know so many people on Facebook around here that, like, if my day in fishing went bad, I'll just check a couple people who did good, reach out to them. Hey, what did you get your fish? All I need to know, did you get your fish shallow or deep? And what types of lures? You don't have to tell me where in the lake. You don't have to tell me up north. You don't have to tell me in Cozy Creek. Just tell me, are they up shallow? Are they up deep? Are they medium? And do they want the lure real slow? Are they okay with it being fast? Were you using any power techniques? You give me a couple of little things like that, I'll figure them out on my own, and I'll be, at least I'll have a starting point. That's what I try to give you guys, a starting point, or at least just information. So if I'm sucking, what maybe not to do, and if I'm doing great, what to start with, and then from there, just do what you can do, right? So it's kind of how I approach it. Anyways, thank you guys and gals for watching. Smash that like and subscribe. I'm going to get off a little early tonight. I got to go to bed. I've got a crazy day tomorrow. We'll see you guys Wednesday, and Friday I'll probably do a live stream from the lake. I will be camping at Lake Mcclure this Friday and fishing the BBT Saturday. So I'm thinking we'll do a special live stream from like the fire pit with the s'mores and marshmallows and like beers. And then me and Mike will be there, and I'll have a guest. So I actually have a guest for first time in a long time, and we can talk and joke and bullshit and bounce stuff off of each other. And you guys can ask my guest questions. And last time I had a guest on here was pretty entertaining. For those of you who might remember, I was getting pretty frustrated with him. He was kind of drunk and annoying and pissing me off, but I still liked the guy a lot. And so like I was like getting frustrated, and everyone could tell. And actually, it turned into a good night. There was a lot of fun comments, and everybody seen the chemistry was hilarious. So I think it would, do the channel good to start getting some guests on here as well and balance the show out with some other opinions, other ideas, and then comedic relief. We got guys bouncing, we can talk ish to each other. So, yeah. So I mean, I'm thinking this Friday we'll do a live stream from the lake. So that one should be a pretty unique, fun one. Wednesday, I'm going to be trying really hard to make sure I'm not late for you guys. But expect one Wednesday. Even if I pull in at 8:00 at night, I'll be here Wednesday as well. We'll just maybe go. We'll just probably go an extra hour or something like that. So, anyways, thank you guys and gals for watching Common Sense Fishing. I didn't see RC Creative on tonight, but big shout out and thank you to RC Creative for the shirt here. So appreciate you, brother. You're always appreciated, and every single one of you guys and members, thank you guys so much. Don't forget, we're going to have a members giveaway coming up in March. I'll be getting all your guys' little lure packs off to you. And big thank to the members. As always, early access for you guys. And I plan on doing a lot more cool stuff. So please stick around. Keep that up. And it's just a great way to support the channel too, by the way. But in the end, I'm going to have merch coming out. All kinds of stuff is the plan. And, I plan on really giving back to those who have supported the channel. So to all my subscribers, members, thank you so much. If you're a viewer and you haven't subscribed yet by now, what are you waiting for? Smash that subscribe button and come hang out with us regularly. Otherwise, we'll see you guys later. Everyone have a good night. So thanks, Jeff. Thanks, JP, Marco, Tackle Seafood, right? All you other guys, I really appreciate it. Mike, No Limit. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.